Kimi gets his groove back while George spends his Sunday in the sandpit at Spa, and BMW keep the endurance wins coming. All this plus a look at the last Grand Prix before the summer break. It's Sidepods and Splitters, episode 8. Let's go. To F1 first up, and after spending 2 of the last 3 races off the podium, Kimi Antonelli returned to the top step in Belgium with a thrilling chase down win over everyone's favourite Ferrari driver Charles Leclerc. Despite losing the lead to Verstappen going up into Eau Rouge on the opening lap, Antonelli retook the lead before George Russell and Lewis Hamilton would come together in what every single person who saw it except the stewards would call a racing incident would bring out the safety car. 5 laps later, and with a safety car coming in, Antonelli would open up a small lead over Verstappen, who was battling with Leclerc for third. With Leclerc finally dealt with, Verstappen would slowly close the gap to Antonelli out front. Charles Leclerc would then fall back into a battle with Piastri, and on lap 8, trying to go around the outside into Leclerc, the Aussie would hit Leclerc, breaking a sizable piece of carbon off the McLaren, but also allow Hamilton to close up and eventually pass him for 4th position. Lap 18 would see the first of the leaders stopping, with Verstappen blinking first, then Antonelli covering off the undercut a lap later. The VSC would come out for a second time at the perfect time for Ferrari and allow them to pit Leclerc, leapfrogging both Antonelli and Verstappen and into second place, but first of the pitted runners. Hamilton's stop wasn't so clean, not only having to serve his 5-second penalty for the earlier clash with Russell, but also taking out the front wheelman in the process. A post-race investigation was slugged a Brit with a $30,000 fine. At the halfway point, Lando Norris had made himself up to first position, but his race-old hard compound tyres weren't a match for Leclerc as he sailed straight past the McLaren driver and into the lead. Further back in the pack, and Isack Hadjar had worked his way up to 7th, having stopped twice under the initial safety car. With 10 laps to go, Antonelli, having steadily closed the gap, would overtake Leclerc for the lead and stay there for the final part of the race. Crossing the line 1.9 seconds in front of Leclerc, with Max Verstappen a further 10 seconds behind in 3rd. Hamilton, despite the penalty, would finish in 4th, closely followed by Piastri in 5th. Isack Hadjar, with driver of the day, would climb an incredible 15 positions to finish in 6th. To the standings, and Antonelli's 6th win of the year would allow him to once again open up a 50-point lead at the top of the standings, with the yo-yoing between Hamilton and Russell for a second continuing week, moving Hamilton back up to 2nd, 5 points clear of Russell in 3rd. Leclerc's recent run of form sees him in 4th, moving further ahead of one-and-done world champion Lando Norris in 5th. The Constructors sees no change to the top 5, with Mercedes still leading and Ferrari closing the gap in 2nd. McLaren maintained 3rd, while Red Bull still in 4th. Racing Bulls tie Alpine in 5th with 61 points. A look ahead to round 11 in Hungary, and the summer break is only a week away, with back-to-back races meaning it's race week again. The Hungaroring is famously called Monaco without walls, and for good reason, with limited spots for overtaking. If the cars of 2026 have shown us anything, it's that overtaking can be done anywhere this season, and I think Hungary will be the same. Normally up there with Barcelona as an insomniac's dream, this year's race promises to be a belter. The last before the summer break, and there's plenty to race for. Ferrari and Red Bull will look to take recent form and momentum into the break with a strong result here, while Mercedes will be looking for a rare trouble-free weekend for both of its drivers. A win to Kimi will extend his lead, while both Lewis and George will be keen to cut that lead with a much-needed victory. With at least 11 races remaining after the summer break, there's still so many twists and turns to come this season. And I say at least 11 races, due to the fact that there's still talk of replacing the Bahrain and possibly Saudi races for later on in this year. More to come on that, I'm sure. As always, make sure you're following us here on C&K Motorsport as we bring you all the action throughout the weekend on Instagram, TikTok and Facebook. To GT racing now, and round 5 of the European Series was an absolute exhibition by WRT BMW as drivers Charles Weerts and Kelvin van der Linde totally dominated the Misano round with wins in both races. The hometown crowd was set into absolute hysteria during Saturday's opening quali as Valentino Rossi nailed his quali lap on his local track to secure his first ever series pole position. Saturday night's race 1 brought immediate drama. A massive multi-car collision right at the green flag on pit straight forced a lengthy safety car period. Once racing resumed under the floodlights, Wirtz and van der Linde sliced through to take a commanding victory. On Sunday, the Verstappen Racing Mercedes, qualified on pole by Jules Gounon, led the field away for race 2. But the WRT crew executed a flawless pit stop strategy. Van der Linde and Wirtz jumped into the lead during the driver changes and never looked back, crossing the line to secure their second win of the weekend. With this double victory, WRT blows the Sprint Cup Championship battle wide open heading into next round at Magny-Cours. And while Lucas Auer and Mario Engel still lead, van der Linde and Wirtz have closed the gap to 36 points at the top. Well, that's it for another week. I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode. If there's something we're not covering here on Sidepods and Splitters that you want to see, let me know down here in the comments and we'll get it going. As always, make sure you're following us on all our social media feeds. We've just chalked up 5,000 followers on Instagram, so if one of those is you, then thank you very much for following us and thanks for watching here as well. As always, keep it on the black stuff and we'll see you at a racetrack near you soon.